we have some more art drama, and whether this is art tracing drama or art copying drama, you can be the judge of that at the end of this video. And before we get started, again, let's not send hate to any parties involved because that's not what we're about, okay? The tweet in question is this tweet made by LTTO Sky, who goes by Lay. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to read their Twitter handle, but it reads, "Oh, can I be honest? I love the art and especially how similar it is a combination and adaptation of these arts from Twitter user Inzy. Or maybe I'm seeing too much, I think, and I'm half crazy." And it is a quote retweet from a tweet made by another creator by the name of Needi VT. So this is the original tweet, and it says, "This design was donated to me by Dark Sprite 85 and we'd like to give it away for free. Simply comment your intentions with the design and I will choose a winner soon." And attached is a photo of a design that is kind of this like celestial bunny girl in a very like navy blue and more cerulean blue vibe. It's like to me a little bit sad that Needy got dragged into this because it doesn't seem like they had any nefarious intentions whatsoever. If you guys don't know what this creator does, this creator by the name of Needy, what they do is they are a VTuber rigger. So they give away a lot of VTuber rigs to the community. I made another video about them in the past because like somebody made a post being like, "Yeah, I hate people who give away free things," tagging them or something like that. I don't think it seemed like they knew anything about this. They just adopt designs, then they rig the model, and then they will give it away back to the community in an act of good. So I think they just ended up in the crossfire in this situation. That's what it looks like to me. But we go back in the comment section now, and Lay adds the bunny version. So the two creators in question mainly is this creator by the name of Inzy and another creator by the name of, and I'm so sorry because their names are very similar, by the name of Umitana. So I'll be calling, for clarity, Inzy, I'll be calling them Inzy because that's what they watermark their art as, and I'll be calling this other person Umi for clarity purposes. But in the quote retweet, it is a raffle that is posted by Inzy. So they're kind of giving away some characters with commercial rights, and as you can see, they have a pretty distinctive art style. It's a very cute style. You know, here's some other characters. This one is more rendered, another character. And then yeah, in the comment section, we can see here Needy being like, "I will gladly turn these into beautiful models for you with full design credit, of course. Thanks for the chance." Because again, Needy just takes the designs, obviously with permission, rigs it, and then we'll give it away. And then Lay added another quote retweet of a character design Inzy did. This one is a character design of a character with a very similar color palette to the bunny girl, Umi. And then Inzy added comment saying, "Yes, I also see that they are inspired by my characters. For example, take these two. They have a lot of different things, but also a lot in common. And if you add that they were published 2 days apart, it becomes clear what's going on. I keep getting DMs and it's really sad." So this character is Inzy's character, and this one is a design made by Umi. And so on first glance, there honestly is not too many similarities, right? They do have a relatively similar body type, but that is a pretty common body type in like anime standards. And the hair shape is a bit common with the long hair like billowing out at the very ends of the hair, kind of like getting fuller and heavier at the bottom of the hair, which is also something you can see in a lot of people's art styles. And there's some similarity with the crisscrossing action of the legs, like you see here on Inzy's design, how there's a green crisscross on the leg here. And this character also features some of the crisscrossing designs as well. I would say for me, it starts getting a little bit more nefarious if an artist's signature kind of like style element starts getting also replicated. So what I mean by this is Inzy, when they post their artwork, always adds these dots on the side. They typically add in the top left and the top right. And that's the 4 dots is also something that this other artist Umi is replicating. Again, I'm not saying that Inzy owns the idea of 4 dots in the top right, the top left. Inzy doesn't own the idea of hair getting fuller at the bottom of the hair. Inzy doesn't own the idea of a crisscross ribbon on the lower calf, but it starts getting a little similar if like all of these elements that are featured in one person's artwork, which makes it their art style, start appearing in another person's artwork as well. Like I can completely understand how from Inzy's point of view, it's getting a little similar, maybe a little bit too close for comfort now. Another commenter, Lainey, writes, "Your post from September 5th and their post from DeviantArt on September 23rd. The blue underhair, hair strands, hairpins, boob window, heart necklace, the bracelet matches the details on the coat trail, and even the dots in the corner of the images. Too similar for comfort." So again, this is Inzy's character. You see the blue underhair, it's white on top. We have 2 barrettes and a crisscross barrette on the other side. There is a heart cutouts and a lot of heart designs. And again, you see what I'm mentioning here, the 4 dots dots in the top left, bottom right. Oh my god, I can't tell left from right. And this was Uta's post on September 5th. You have been waiting so long, it's happened. The comms are open. And then here is their design on DeviantArt. The blue underhair. Again, we have the kind of like heart on the chest. The barrettes are the same. So the two gold barrettes on one side, and then we have the crisscross barrette, the X-shaped barrette on the other side. Again, and the thing is, this gets into a bit of a gray area because it's not like an explicit tracing or copying happens, but it is heavy referencing, right? Again, Inzy doesn't own the idea of blue underhair. Inzy doesn't own the idea of a heart-shaped cutout on your chest. Inzy doesn't own the concept of stacking two barrettes on one side and putting a crisscross barrette on the other side. Inzy doesn't own the concept of 4 dots in the top left and the bottom right. It just gets a little similar. And then Uta comments with a crying emoji and a photo of another design they've made with a very, very similar jacket to what is featured in Umi's design. And by the way, I'll have like more comparisons later on the video, so we will revisit these images. And Lei writes, exactly, this is quite sad, a huge disrespect to your art, which is beautiful, even for the art of the person themselves who is getting those inspirations. And Inzy says, thank you for your support, it is greatly appreciated. And people are 50-50 about this, right? Some people are agreeing with Inzy in that, hey, you know, this is looking like really, really similar. And other people are on the other side of the coin. So Luna writes, not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't see the problem. I only see them inspired by your art and designs, but none of the designs I see are a 100% copy. They take inspiration by the design aspects they like and use them in their own, but they don't look the same to me. And Luna adds, and I feel that is what everyone is doing anyways. You see something you like and implement it into a design. Sometimes you like it so much that you don't want to change that much about it, like the hearts on the sleeves thing, but it's still different. And Inzy writes, yes, you're right, and that's because I didn't start anything until now. I realize what you said would be a popular opinion, but it's not normal to be so inspired that when people scroll through their feed and see my work, they think it's me. I think maybe like Inzy's referring to when they see the other person's work, they think it's Inzy's art when it's not. I'm really tired of getting notifications about them. I followed them when they had less than 50 followers and thought that what they were doing was generally okay. Almost all artists at the beginning of their career are too much inspired by someone. Then they realize that it will lead to nothing and start looking for themselves and their style. But over time, they started to gain popularity and people started to write to me even more about the similarities. I just got tired of it. And Luda says, but their art style still looks different than yours. There is a huge difference between your art styles. They don't look like they're from the same artist at all. I think people are overreacting, not gonna lie. And Inzy says, they just took me and another artist who also makes characters for sale and combined us. If you look closely, you can even see that some of the works are more inclined to my style than hers and others are vice versa. Maybe I'm just crazy, but take a look for yourself. So attached is a DeviantArt of another artist by the name of Neo Murray. And their art is really pretty. And here is an example of one of their art pieces. So I think this could mean, you know, if we put it side by side, there's some elements that look a little bit familiar, you know, like the facial structure, the face shape is all pretty similar. The clothing, the colors they use, like the specific values of the colors. Again, it kind of just depends on intent as well, right? Because a lot of artists have art styles similar to this. It's a very kind of, it's like if you took anime art and then stylized it a bit more, you end up arriving at like a style like this. Kind of like another example of Neo's art style. You know, so it's always one of those where it's like, where do we draw the line in terms of what is inspiration and then what is straight ripping somebody's art style. These two pieces have a pretty similar color palette, but the entire essence, I feel like, of the piece is very different. The only commonality is the color palette and maybe the green eyes, right? And so Luna says, oh, I know Neo Murray. They drew my OC already. I would say their art style looks a lot more like Neo Murray's, but all the thing is you can't copy art styles and you can't forbid them to be inspired by other people's designs, so as long as they aren't straight up copying. Inzy says, but if you spend a little time on one of their designs, you can find out who they copied the pose from, who they copied the clothing elements from, find out which design they copied the accessories from, and where they copied the style of the post. Being an artist doesn't mean you have to sculpt Frankenstein. Even if you copy something from other works, at least the majority should be from you. And Inzy adds, it's not about the pose, it's about the body proportions and other things. If you redraw on top of another art, the body proportions pose of another character, it's not good. You should draw yourself, or if you have problems with this, use special 3D models that are designed for this purpose, not the work of other artists. And no hate to any people involved, including the commenter. The reason why I went down this thread is to showcase more of Inzy's thought process about this. And I would say there definitely are scenarios where people would trace elements of other people's work and like Frankenstein it together to a quote unquote unique piece. But it's not unique because all the elements were traced just off of like different chunks of like people's artwork. If you photo bash Frankenstein a little body together and then you trace over that, you're still essentially tracing. Now, the problem with something like that is we can't know for certain. So it puts it in a big gray area. There's room for plausible deniability, which makes it harder to debate. And then Needi commented, if you have an issue like this, you should DM the artist and discuss it privately over DM, rather than making drama call-out posts. And Inzy says, during the existence of her Twitter profile, I received more than 40 messages that she was copying me. People wrote to her, but she deleted and blocked me and continued her work. So there's no point in talking here. I'm very pleased when I can inspire people. I think that's the main task of an artist, to inspire. But their inspiration goes far beyond their comfort zone. They not only copy the style, accessories, clothes, but even the design of the posts. I guess it's referring to the dots on the sides, right? Where is the limit? And Needi says, if you've already discussed in DM, then there's not much more you can do. I agree. Sorry that happened to you, but I'm just making sure the poster contacts in DMs before making call-out posts. And then Inzy says, yeah, they blocked me before I could even write to them and talk about it. Isn't that strange? They recognize that I inspire them, but for some reason I'm on their blacklist. And then with a screenshot stating that Umi Tana has blocked you. And yeah, I definitely do agree, right? Like if there is a situation where you could solve it professionally in DMs, that's always the better way to go. But like if you are blocked and blocked for a while, I mean, there's really nothing Inzy could do in this scenario. And Umi makes a comment under that post writing, hello, no one has ever messaged me about my style being very similar, and this is the first time I've heard of it. So, I mean, if we take that statement as face value, right, then somebody's lying, because Inzy had stated that people have told them that they DM'd Umi about it, but Umi is stating they never got any DMs. So I don't know. Right. And Umi writes, there was a situation only once when a person stole my work and started accusing me of stealing somebody else's style in the very earliest days of my Twitter account. The artist himself did not contact me with any accusations or to talk about the situation. I was inspired by her work style and success, but I'm not copying the pose. It's a common human pose, a simple pose. The lines are drawn with a contour brush. They are also simple. You can accuse me of liking the simple, sketchy style and adapting it and drawing like that, but I'm not stealing this artist's work. And Very Berry Maze writes, inspiration should be credited, but also as first in the art community. Copying is not okay though. And Umi says, so I need to specify the artist of the style, which I change over time. And a commenter writes, I think all that's being asked here is that you don't copy so much from the artist's designs when you take inspo, because a lot of your designs can be seen as too closely taken by the artist. Going into the art in question, I did a side-by-side where I laid out Umi's art, which is what is blocked in red, and then Inzy's artwork, which is on the left side. So we can kind of see for a side-by-side comparison. So these two were the pieces that are allegedly what inspired this piece. And as we can see, there's again a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences, right? The 4 dots in the top left, top right for this bunny girl piece is very, very similar to Inzy's kind of signature. I would also say there's so many aspects that are quite similar, just some though, like the bunny ears, the exact shape of the ears, you know, with the X on the top of the ear, that's also present on Umi's piece. Again, kind of similar color palettes, but there's also room for plausible deniability because there's a lot of differences, right? And again, it's not like Inzy owns the idea of these kind of more diamond-shaped bunny ears or the cross across the bunny ears, or this color palette specifically. We can go down to these 2 pieces that were alleged to be very similar. Again, there's elements that are pretty similar across the 2 pieces, right? Like the jacket that cuts off right at the bust, the color palette for the hair. Again, the hair billowing out and gaining volume on the bottom of the hair, kind of the crisscrossing pattern going on this leg that can also be featured on this leg as well, some kind of similar aspects with the jacket. But again, there are also a lot of differences, and I will have to acknowledge that, you know, like one has cat ears, one doesn't. The hair clips are all different. The clothing color palette is quite different. There is a hat on this character. And then going down to the final 3. So we have these 2 on the left being Inzy's design and this one being Umi's. We can see the most notable one is the jacket is quite similar, you know, the purple sleeves with the hearts on it. Here we can also see the purple sleeves with the very, very small pastel hearts. The kind of blue under hair is kind of similar. Again, we have the bunny ears with the crisscross that's also featured here, the heart cutouts. Again, there's also a lot of differences, you know, with like the hair texture being different, the color palette being quite different, the clothing being quite different. But I think this kind of lends to one thing where it's like, hey, you know, there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of differences, but if people are in a way constantly mistaking your art style for somebody else, or like your artwork for somebody else's art, I as an artist wouldn't be very happy about that. You know, if people were constantly being like, hey, your art looks like so and so, that I'm gonna be like, I don't really like that. Let me try to like differentiate myself even more because I like being known as a unique individual. And I think situations like this can arise too if you only reference one artist or if you only reference like one or two artists that have very similar art styles, right? If we start really limiting the amount of references we're using, we're inevitably going to end up drawing very similarly to the style of other people. And this can then lead to a big gray area, etc. And I think it's kind of twofold where it's like there's nothing wrong with being inspired by beautiful artwork you like to see, but if it's done in a way where the artist is now kind of uncomfortable because of how similar your art is, and you recognize that you've probably crossed some boundaries because you block them, right? That would show that you've recognized some boundaries were crossed. Then maybe we should, wheel it back a little bit. Do I think that the other artist, Umi, had nefarious intentions with what they were doing? I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it. It maybe just seems like somebody got a little carried away with, in referencing like one or two people. Then they kind of doubled down on it because they got a little defensive about it because it was their art, and people are like talking about it now. There's enough differences to me where it's uniquely their character. It's not like a trace character, but it falls into this big gray area. And if a lot of people are mistaking your art for somebody else's art, I think it's time we get some more references, guys. But I'm curious about your thoughts down below. What do you think about this whole scenario? And again, let's be respectful in the comment section because I don't want to be sending hate to anybody and you shouldn't want to do that either. So anyways, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. And I also have an Etsy shop in which I sell like digital goods and art and stuff if you want to check it out. And I also have a coffee shop where I have some free goods, and I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. So I hope to catch you guys there or in another one of my videos.